So I'm recording. Here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Charlotte du Plessis, and it gives me great pleasure to stand in front of you today and to be the one to announce that we are launching a beautiful collection of unique stories which are often painful but yet powerful. Today, this afternoon, I wish I had a glass of champagne in my hand to actually toast all of these wonderful women that have so graciously given of their time and so bravely have shared their very personal moments in their lives, and to allow me to have access to this, and that we can together and collectively put it into a format whereby you, as the viewer, as the reader, will be able to get access to this, to their stories, to their beautiful memories, some painful, but very inspirational. Welcome to the launch, pre-launch, and exclusive preview of Forgotten Woman, the South African Story. So, what is our story? Our story is that we realized and recognized the need to launch a fundraising initiative, and we've called it the Forgotten Woman of COVID-19. We've realized that much of the funding provided by government and other sources has either run out or do not recognize all women who are not being assisted by these existing interventions. The Women of Stature Foundation will be complementing these funding initiatives by helping those women who do not qualify and are in need. For example, they are not BEE compliant, possibly have unregistered businesses, are not essential services, work on contract, may possibly have already lost their jobs, cannot find a job because of the unemployment rate being sky high now, and who, because of lockdown, have lost their businesses and income overnight. But yet they still have families to support, but they have no means of income. These are the forgotten women of COVID-19. Okay, why is that now happening? Sorry. So what is the aim of the Women of Stature Foundation? It's to provide a personal, professional, and entrepreneurial development to the women through education. Our vision is to be the leading and strategic women empowerment organization that delivers relevant, sustainable, personal, professional, and entrepreneurial growth opportunities, which will adequately equip South African women to face the harsh current socioeconomic and societal challenges. To inspire excellence through acknowledging women and celebrating their professional achievements and exceptional levels of societal contribution. This we will achieve by creating prestigious platforms and events to honor those women and raise funds for the Women of Stature Foundation while doing so. Our mission is to present ongoing preventative and empowerment interventions responsive to the specific needs of all women across the societal spectrum in South Africa, and to create a culture of solutions-based, independent, proactive, non-victimized thinking and meaningful, contributory and strategically collaborative doing. Who are these women who have so graciously come forward or accepted my invitation to be part of this incredible program and project? And it is at this point in time that I would like to call each one out by name, and I would like to ask them to personally introduce themselves, give the story name, and also give a little bit of insight as to who they are and what it is that actually resonated with them to make this contribution to this book. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Nonku Gobodo. Nonku, would you mind coming forward and just giving us a little bit of your story? Nonku? Where is Nonku? Let's go and find Nonku quickly. It seems as though we may have lost Nonku. Let's just check.
No, she's talking and she's on mute.
Oh, shame. Okay, so let me...
Okay, sorry, I've unmuted myself. I forgot that Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. So my name is Nonkuleko Gobodo. My story in the book is about motherhood. A story of pregnant and married at 17. And I see now why people are calling me Nonkuleko. The spelling is wrong, Charlotte.
My apology.
So I fell pregnant at 17, and that was the beginning of a major change in my life, having grown up with a low self-esteem, and that tragedy or adversity bringing me to a place of knowing who I am, and then finding what I wanted to do in life. Out of that, I qualified as a chartered accountant and went on to establish a big Black accounting firm that is known as Sizwenzaluba Gobodo Grant Thornton today, which is the 5th largest accounting firm in South Africa, competing with the big 4 firms. I just want to share also that out of this lockdown, I just said, I'm not locked down. I'm a spiritual being. There's no virus that will lock me down. And having just taken time to myself, I came up with a vision, which actually is a revived vision that I've had for a long time, but it came to life this time around, to start an organization that will deal with racism and prejudice against prejudice against women, against Black people, against non-performing employees. For me, those are the disadvantaged groups. And my story is about focusing on them, not activism in terms of fighting like what is happening with Black Lives Matter, but a focus on the disadvantaged groups themselves, the Black people, the women, to awaken to who they truly are. I am excited about this project, and I'll be launching it in the month of August. Thank you.
Thank you, Nonku. What a pleasure it is to have you with me in this project. Nonku was one of the first ladies that I actually approached, and she so willingly just gave of herself and her time. And she was also instrumental in introducing me to Yamkela, who actually writes on behalf of Nonku. And so that introduction has led to Yamkela being one of our editors, and some of you have already met her, but I'll give her an opportunity as well. So next we have, unfortunately, I did not see our Deputy Minister Piki Kakana online with us. I think she's obviously fighting the fight for us in Parliament or at the union buildings. And then Yavi Madurai, I don't recall seeing Yavi. But then next we have Shireen Hunter. Shireen, would you mind introducing yourself?
Not at all. Hello, everybody. I'm taking advantage of a lovely outdoor weekend away with my family, so I hope you can appreciate the sunlight behind me. My story really evolves, I suppose. I grew up the oldest daughter in a single parent family raised by a mother, very unaware of the the dividing lines that have been drawn in society between men and women. In many regards, I was completely naive to it, having grown up in a household of just women, and very fortunately, and it is part of my story, had my grandfather and amazing uncles who stood in the gap while I was being raised. So for me, deep diving into a society where there was so much prejudice against women, and to see how biased the system was towards women was like diving into cold water. And so I tell my story about how I experienced the corporate world in the first few years, initially completely unaware of the patriarchal system, and how I encountered disappointments after disappointment, initially first trusting the system and, very naively believing what you sow is what you reap. In a commercial system, that is not always the case. That is a spiritual principle, but it doesn't always play fairly out in a business world. And so I just share stories about the disappointment of, being promoted and incremental promotions and little increases, and believing I was on the top of the world until I got to a point where I realized what my male counterparts were earning, whom I was training to do the job. It was quite shocking. And then from that point on, as the veil lifted, as I experienced more and more the bias and the prejudice against women in the business world, which is predominantly my space and my focus. So that's what my story is about, and it does have a happy ending, and it does have a lot of little bit of direction for women who are in the business world. But essentially, that's what it's about. It's the brutal, honest truth. It's not dressed up in any way. It's exactly how I experienced it, and I hope that it will resonate with everybody. And I think more so, I think the value of good men in this world, because I had a phenomenal grandfather who played a huge role in my life when I was growing up, even within a patriarchal system, and one that he himself evolved out of. And I think the significance of that for me is quite weighted. So I hope you enjoy the story, and I look forward to hearing everybody else's stories as well.
Thank you so much, Shireen. Is Sue Moodley with us? I don't recall seeing Sue. Namila Reddy, are you with us yet? Okay, then we move on to Shapiso. Shapiso, I do recall seeing you.
Good afternoon, ladies. I am here. Let me first start celebrating and thanking Isabel for just believing in me in writing the story to start with, her support, just saying, I think you can do this. And I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Isabel, for that confidence. I'm really appreciative. So my story is a story of celebrating ordinary women who've done extraordinary things. And I've dedicated the story to my late mother. Because the minute I saw the title of the story, that just reminded me of her. And I just wanted to just celebrate and honor the lives of ordinary women who've sacrificed so much of their lives to, for their children to have a better life and better opportunities. And I think my mother has done exactly that. So the whole story really focuses on her life living on through me, through my sisters, and what the legacy that she's left behind. Though she was not educated, she never had an opportunity to go to school, but I celebrate women who managed to, start businesses for survival. She started running a business without saying she's an entrepreneur, but she was putting food on the table. And I wanted to celebrate that she's not forgotten. I also wanted to just celebrate a sense of community of township women. I speak a lot around burial societies, the power of women coming together to make a living. And women who've made food out of just one tin of fish and bread. So my story is celebrating ordinary women who've done extraordinary things, and through the voice of my late mother. And also just identifying or addressing issues of poverty, addressing issues, you know, of abuse, because those are some of the harsh realities that she had to bear and had to go through. And so I'm so excited when I saw the nutshell of this project that is about COVID-19. And I think as I was researching and just understanding, you know, what is happening behind the scenes around the abuse, it brought the story closer home. So I hope that a lot of women, ordinary women, will identify with this story, and they will be inspired to know that even though they may not be known, they may not be famous, but their lives, they've sacrificed a lot, and their lives make a difference. And I wanted to celebrate ordinary women who are doing extraordinary things. So that's a bit about my story. So the Forgotten Woman lives on, and that's the title of my story.
Amazing. Thank you, Shapisa. And thank you, Isabel, as you say, for putting her forward. And, you know, it's wonderful that the network of Women of Stature is actually creating opportunities like this where women can actually celebrate other women. Right. The next lady I'd like to introduce is Rita Govender. Rita?
Hello, everybody. Hi. Well, firstly, I thought that there are so few people or women that actually leave God's green earth without having this opportunity, without actually having this opportunity to share their story and share their plight. And I just feel so humbled and privileged to be one of the very few who would receive this honor, who actually receive this honor. I really like to thank Charlotte and Women of Stature I commend you for actually being so influential and pulling in a trailblazing woman like Shirley Zinn to be, to be besides, in order to co-author, with her. I just feel like it's such a life-changing experience for us all, and I speak on behalf of us all. And then I just want to thank Isabel for actually getting me to join Women of Stature, and it's because of her that I'm here, so thank you. And then my story is about Was She My Mother? And how the male domination and patriarchy of her life got her to make the decisions she made so easily, actually. She made them so easily, sacrificing herself and sacrificing her children. And I think if you go through the story, you wouldn't actually believe to what extent 6 children were sacrificed. And I was the eldest amongst the 6. And it was not only at the beginning, it was time and time again where the male counterparts of the family came first. So it's a story like that, and where I thank my parents for the gift of poverty and uncertainty, and how I used that to pave my journey going forward. And how that has given me such a springboard to do, and given me the courage to do what I've done in my life. So being the eldest of 6 and no support from anybody or any educated member of the family around us, I was left to actually be a role model for the children and be a mother and father, because my mom was illiterate and then my dad was basically absent. So then the story goes about as also how I grew up in the farm, and then also when I married early and went through work life, also through lots of male domination and the boardroom, these tight circles of boys' clubs in the boardroom, how the same chairs got moved around all the time with the same people. You see, I saw that, a lot of that. And then also to the better part of my life, where I've had children, and how I made their lives, how I made their lives where they wouldn't have to feel that uncertainty and poverty. And the reason behind sharing so deeply was to give other people the courage that they need to go back in their journey to actually get them to go forward in life. Thank you.
Wow, amazing, Rita. Thank you so, so much. And I must just tell you, Rita called me quite a number of times just to thank me, to be sure that she was on track, because this is the first time she's actually sat down and really written a deep-seated story about her life. And I think if this is the opportunity that it's giving you as women and other women who's going to follow in your footsteps, then I think we have clearly started a revolution with this book. Thank you, Rita. Right, then we have Nicole Fuller. Nicole, your interesting story.
Hi everyone, I'm Nicole Fuller, and the title of my story is a South African athletic story, and then fighting breast cancer. So my story is based, actually, I grew up in a very middle class, normal family, and you know, at that time, of course, it was the very patriarchal apartheid era, and it was only later on in my life, well, when I was in high school, that I started becoming a fairly serious athlete. For those of you who don't know, I am a Springbok elite South African athlete and represented South Africa many times overseas. But the beginning of my athletics career, of course, we were in apartheid, and I started off competing at high school. So I just share my story there. And I think only, you know, at that stage, you know, I grew up in a pretty sheltered home, so we never knew how, you know, the terrible things that were happening with apartheid and how many people were so terribly impacted. And only once I got into sport, you know, we became aware of it. And we, you know, at that stage we were still in apartheid, but I met some incredible athletes from all walks of life, all cultures, all races. And, you know, we were exposed to the terrible system. And I mean, it impacted sport terribly for all of us, for all races, because we were isolated. You know, there were sanctions against competing. So the impact was, you know, impacted all of us. And we received our Springbok colors, so we basically competed just against each other or against the clock. But it, you know, like I say, it was an eye-opener for me to see. And then once we were readmitted, which was amazing for all the sportsmen, and South Africa did so well, and we had so much to prove on the world stage, and we had amazing performances. But I think then I myself experienced political, you know, as a result of the whole system, because I was just really performing pretty well when we were readmitted into international sport. And I qualified for the Atlanta Olympic Women's Marathon, and I qualified, and I was actually left out of the team because of political bias at that point, which was quite heartbreaking. As you can imagine, I sacrificed many years of training. But then looking back, so many athletes suffered, you know, and I just sort of moved on from it. I still had incredible opportunities. I still saw the world. I competed internationally in many other races, you know, and met incredible people. So, and then of course my own, what I experienced in my own athletic career and what it taught me, I then was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2017, and that just took me on an incredible journey. I was incredibly lucky, and on that journey I've just met the most incredibly powerful, and it was all women. It was just so incredible how that all happened, from my actual breast cancer surgeon, Prof. Caroline Ben, and then actually meeting Charlotte 2 months later through Women of Stature, and the impact that both Charlotte and Carol had on me to inspire me to become a public speaker and to get out there and share my journey and combine what I learned from my athletics, what I learned from coaching, and, you know, getting very involved in breast cancer and being able to help other women with breast cancer from all walks of life and to help them through the breast cancer journey. I now am an oncology patient navigator and a breast cancer exercise specialist, and the opportunities and the amazing things that I have experienced and I have done through this incredible journey, that is my story.
Nicole, thank you so much. And yes, Nicole and I met, as she says, and it was at a breast cancer event that I'd organized, because I do an annual event to support the Breast Health Foundation. And from the time I met Nicole to where she's gone from then to now is incredible. So well done, Nicole. You stood your ground. And thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Right, I see that Namilla
No,
Reddy
pleasure.
is now online with us. Namilla, what we're asking the ladies to do is just to introduce themselves and give a short overview of the story line within which you have written for the book. So welcome, and ladies, this is Namilla Reddy. If you'll just unmute yourself, please, Namilla.
Thank you, Charlotte. Apologies for being late. I just had to finish off another meeting. Would you like me to go ahead and speak?
Yes, you're welcome to go
Okay, fantastic.
ahead, Namilla.
Great. Thank you so much, ladies. I feel so very honored and privileged to be a part of this amazing group. I had the privilege of meeting Charlotte a couple of years ago. In my role, I look after enterprise and supply development at Nedbank. Something that I'm very passionate about. I think the person that I am, I love making a meaningful difference to society, and I'm very privileged in that I get paid to give out money. And I always say I have the best job in the world. I've been at it for quite a while, and I think because I'm very purpose-driven, and I mean, someone said to me the other day, are you still at Nedbank doing your own thing? And it literally is that. It literally feels like, you know, I've been given a little piece of this world, and, you know, where a lot of leeway, and I'm very privileged from that perspective, where we can do amazing things by reaching businesses and out-of-box things, which is, you know, really testament to Nedbank's living by their values as well. But I think we started off with the 5 Pillars program that Charlotte had the brilliant vision around in terms of taking women on a journey. And I must say that every single one that came through that program was so amazing. And, you know, it was not unlike where I was at that point in time in terms of my own personal journey. And so my story is really about, actually, I don't go very much into detail around my Nedbank journey. It's really my personal perspective on coming from a very difficult place in time, being your typical, you know, individual that had this idealistic outlook on life. And as we all do, you know, we believe that life has a path that it has to follow in terms of what society advocates, which is you got to go to school, you got to do the study thing, then you get married, then you have babies, and you know, that whole routine. And of course, I was gobsmacked when I did get married. Was like a whole different ball game completely, which I was not prepared for. And actually, I just went with, you know, what really society was saying. And I think for me, my story was around breaking free out of those barriers and those boundaries that actually we have in our mind more than anything else. And that's the biggest, most important, I think, hurdle to overcome, those that we have within our minds. So my story is really about finding myself, taking back my power, and the healing journey that I'd walked through. So coming out of, you know, it literally was, I have to call it what it is, a narcissistic relationship, which, you know, we tried to work at it for many, many years. I mean, I got divorced when I was going on to our 24th wedding anniversary, 2 days before our 24th wedding anniversary. So 4 points to us for trying. I think at that point, I also, coming from a spiritual perspective as well as my studies and all of that, I also got to understand that when a person is narcissistic or has those kind of control tendencies, it's because they are very, very, very hurt, wounded individuals themselves. And usually that happens when they're little children still. So I had to have compassion, but even though we say compassion, the first person I have to have compassion for is myself. So my story is really about my journey of breaking free. I think it doesn't matter what we are, who we are, the titles, the places of work. At the end of the day, that personal way in which we view ourselves is so critically important. The self-image, breaking down the conditionings that's happened from being born, and really trying to redefine. I think that for me was the critical one, redefining myself. So my story is very, I just give little snippets around a few key defining aspects of that were really turning points. You know, like moments where I think as women, because we're generally nurturing, that's what the essence of us is all about, we tend to give without actually understanding where boundaries lay. And so for me, they were key defining incidents that happened, which made me stop and say, is this really what you signed up for? Is this going to be the life of Nirmala Reddy? And so the gist of it is really around how did I cope and what were the points of realization and self-actualization that led to me literally taking back my power. And in that process, I mean, I've got a beautiful 18-year-old daughter. And I have to say, sharing that story was so liberating and so freeing. And we often laugh because, I mean, for my daughter now, it's like she's 18 now, but she literally says to me, you know, it's like you're 16 years old and you're on this journey of some sort. And I think sharing that story was just bringing everything together holistically. And I'm really, really honored that it could be included with all of you amazing women. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how this pans out. Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you for the opportunity.
It's certainly my pleasure, Anna Miller. Thank you so much for always being around, always there to support. I must just tell you, when my husband had just come out from having had his bone marrow transplant, I get this message from the Miller to say that she's bringing us lunch. And on the Sunday she arrived and she had this lovely cooked butter chicken, so beautifully prepared for us, and it was so wonderful, and with some lovely dessert from Woolworths. So thank you so much, Namila, and we really enjoyed it. So the next lady on our list, I see that we've got a couple of ladies that have arrived. I know that a few of them have said that they're going to be a little bit late, but welcome, Shakira. I see that Shakira is now also with us. But for now, we'd like Catherine van Heerden to introduce herself.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Charlotte. What a great honor. Wonderful to meet all of these lovely women. Again, such an honor to be part of this project. So, Charlotte, thank you very much for inviting me. I think it's wonderful to be able to sit down and reflect on the stories and find words to best describe what is in your soul and in your heart and in your spirit, and to put it into a chapter knowing that other people will assimilate it within themselves and possibly resonate with those stories, I think is highly inspirational. So it's wonderful to tell our stories. I think just to start off, before I give a little bit of an overview of my story, I've published this book. You'll see the band also in the back of me as well. And about 3 years ago, I wrote this particular piece, and I thought, let me just open up with that, because I have such a high passion for women and the strength that women have, and what we can carry and what we can do, what we can deliver and what we can inspire. So I wrote this piece and I'd like to dedicate it to you. This is not printed in this book that Charlotte is speaking about and that we all contributed, but I'd just like to dedicate this for all of you that's listening right now. In awe of women. Whenever a new baby girl announces herself, the earth bows at her feet. It sighs with great relief, for unto it is given a magnificent star, with a heart aimed to conquer and a spirit coded to achieve. Hear her voice, she laughs. Hear her heart, she cries. Sense her presence, she stuff. Breathe her beauty, she sighs. Taste her touch, she loves. See her dreams, she dies. For her womanly strength is not bought with quantified silver or with gold, but instead her complex yet beautiful mysteries within, multiplied passions rolling over and underneath her skin. She's woman, she's wife, she's mother, she carries life. So look beyond those masks of green, brown, or blue, referring to the eyes. Those eyes may be longing for a loving touch from you. So she could be an ingredient in the making of your life story, be a part of your road you travel, the way to your own glory. No wonder the earth sighs in much relief when a girl is announced. Into this world, wondrously born, something spectacular will be achieved. And that's a poem that I've written. So just a little bit about my story. I think my story is one as a testimony of two things that's important in a successful life story, and that is God's grace, together with the willingness to work hard with focus and discipline and clear vision and purpose. So my life story is really a testimony of that. So the story goes, I didn't really have parents. Of course, I was born into this world, but my father was completely absent in my life. I think I only really connected him at the age of 25. And so he didn't make any financial contributions to me ever. And my mother was clinically a narcissist. And so because I studied psychology, and I only really understood the pathology that she had when I finished my studies. So I understood also where she was coming from, which left me really completely alone. And it's not exaggerating, it's completely alone. And I had to vent for myself. So from the age of 11 years old, I started working at grocery stores and restaurants and so on, to buy school uniform, to be somewhere and to go to school. I had done it all myself, and I was taking care of my older sister. And so my whole schooling years, I was in boarding school, but also freebie. You know, my parents didn't pay anything, so the school and the boarding school accepted us as the charity cases in school. I saw my parents maybe twice a year, but then as when we went to them for holiday seasons, they wouldn't be there. So, you know, I would go and find work. So every single holiday of my life, I worked. And it was wonderful because I learned discipline, I learned customer service, I learned how to engage with people, I learned how to speak English properly. I learned quite a number of different things. And so by the age of 19 years old or 18 when I finished school, I knew university wasn't open for me, because although I was very academic, I learned to perform high. And so I started working. And in my work environment, my boss had said to me, look, you seem to be a brainy one, so we're going to give you a bursary. You need to go study something. And at the age of 24, I signed up to go study psychology. And I got married also at the age of 20 years old. And like Shamila had mentioned, I was also married to a man that was highly abusive, also for 24 years, by the way. And also I was a victim of rape when I was about 16, 17 years old. So I had overcome quite a lot of obstacles and pain and notions of rejection and having to live and find my own way. But what is wonderful about the story, and that's why I'm saying the story is really one of a gracious path that I think has gifted me at the end of the day with that beautiful knowing of what we are able to do with the truth of our stories. Because each of us, we're listening to all these stories, although the detail may be slightly different, it's still a story of a lot of pain points. And every single one of us can look at those pain points and say, because of this, this is how I turn out. Or we can say, in spite of this, this is what my life has rolled out to be. And so that would leave me always grateful for the pain points even, and all of the things that were my obstacles that I have encountered. I have proceeded studying. I have only this year been awarded my PhD, and I'm very grateful for that. I have published books. I have started my own consulting company at the age of 25. I have traveled a lot. I've been keynote speaker on different stages internationally. I'm now starting a new business during lockdown as well. I have wonderful, beautiful friends in my life. I left my not so nice husband 7 years ago, so I'm very single and very happy. And I'm surrounded with love and gratitude, wonderful, wonderful opportunities that life is just throwing at me. So I too truly, truly believe that this book of Forgotten Women is celebrating the spirit of women. If I can just add one story, if we talk about the patriarchal system, when I was about 26, 27, I now had my business for about 3 years, and I was teaching these older men how to think laterally, right? So this is a story I think that's in my chapter, where I was facilitating the session, and the whole group was about 20 or so older white males that I was now teaching lateral thinking. And I'm like a 27-year-old girl, okay? So I remember at the coffee table, the one gentleman came to me and said to me, are you our facilitator? And I said, yes, sure. My name is Catherine van Heerden. And he said, but what can a young girl like you teach me? Ought you not be pregnant and in the kitchen? Isn't that where you belong? Like he said that to me. Luckily, I've decided two things in my life. I don't feel guilty about anything, and I don't take offense. That's the two things that I don't do. And so I said to him, well, that is fair enough, you know, coming from the place where we came from many years ago. And I said to him, so your question is, what can I teach you? So do you mind to explain to me what you know of lateral thinking? And he said, like, that's what I'm here to teach you. So at the end of 3 days, you'll walk out of here understanding how to use your mind better. That's why. And at the end of the 3 days, he did come to me and say to me, thank you, I'm so sorry for making that comment. You really did teach me something. It's also opening up my eyes not to be so prejudiced against young women. So, and that's just evidence of living in this patriarchal system where women are seen, you know, even in the boardrooms, women are seen to have balls. We are called, if we are decisive and strong and and firm and have good leaders, then we are called to have balls in the boardroom. I said into a magazine that I wrote an article, I said there, I've never heard that a man is being called that he has boobs if he's emotional. You know, why are women being given balls and men are not given boobs? Let's just keep our own gender and agree that you can be firm and decisive and strong and still have boobs. It's not about the balls. So, yeah, so thank you very much, Charlotte. It's a great honor. I'm so excited to see the book and to read it and to read the other wonderful stories. I do want to say I need to sign off because I already have guests here and they're all waiting for me. And I appreciate the opportunity and I'm loving every moment of it. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Catherine. Lovely to see you again and all the best and enjoy your guests.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye. So the next lady that we've got on is Dr. Shakira Chunara. Shakira, you were a little bit late in joining us, so I just wanted to give you a little overview. We're just asking each one that made a contribution to please introduce themselves. Let me just see if she was here. Oh, there we go. Hello, you there? Hello, sweetheart. Off you go.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Charlotte knew I was going to be late because I'm late with everything, sending my chapter, getting to her events. So Charlotte, sorry, but you knew I was going to come late. And then I see that Lynn Hill is on, has she dropped off? Just to say a belated happy birthday. I'm sorry I missed this on Facebook. And this is about my 11th billion 700 call during lockdown. Gosh, so many of these. So it's lovely to check in with all of you, and I'm sure your stories are inspirational. I can't wait to read them. Just a bit of an overview of what I decided to write about, and really it started off reflecting on becoming Women of the Year, and I think that it was such an important, incredible milestone in my career, and it's still a title that people like to use, whether I'm on panel discussions or anything. But it also came at a point in my life where I was going through very difficult things. I was being brought down in the workplace a lot and almost didn't finish the PhD. So people don't know behind the scenes of, you know, you see the tip of the iceberg of the success, but people don't know what goes on behind the scenes. And I think that's where I wanted to start off with, was that Women of the Year moment that took me out of this deep pit I was in, I guess, you know, something I didn't expect. And then also I think that I'm sure all of you on the call go through different things and different difficulties. It's not me alone. And we go through very different experiences. But what's so important is how we pick ourselves up. And people don't realize either. It takes a lot to pick yourself up again and move on. And I think that's where our greatest strengths lie. And so that's really where the chapter, or what the chapter was centered on. And I'll just end up there, but I think it was incredible. As I wrote it, I had big tears crying, and my husband came into the room and he says, are you okay? And I couldn't explain to him, I'm busy writing a chapter about like all the, can I say the word shit in my life? And, and you know, I'm just dealing with it like after 3 or 4 years. But he doesn't know he's having lunch now, so I hope he's not listening that that's the reason I was crying. But I think it's just nice to be able to tell your story, and sometimes we don't start off in our childhood. Just big key moments, and I Charlotte, and can't wait to read everyone's. You must send your autograph. I don't know how we do this with COVID.
You seem to have a bad signal. Shakira, we're losing you.
Can carry on if you want me to.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
thank you
thanks.
so much, Shakira. Sorry, it seems as though you've got a bad signal. So yeah, we're losing her now. Right, so thank you very much, everyone. So our last few ladies, we've got 4 still to go, and that is Valencia, Marta Marie, Kathy Mann, and Lynn. So if we can ask you each to spend 2 to 3 minutes so that we can end off not too late. Valencia, it's your turn.
Hi, ladies. Hello, Charlotte. And thank you so much. As always, it's an honor. And, you know, I was just talking about it yesterday, and I said I pretty much view it as standing on the shoulders of giants and being able to see sort of everything that I could become and everything I could be, because I'm surrounded by such phenomenal women. So my name's Valencia. I'm actually the Youth Ambassador category winner for the Women of Stature Awards 2020. And I think if I were to sum up my chapter, it would come down to telling my mom that the opportunity had been presented to me. And she asked me a question. She said, V, are you ready for this? And I think when I first heard that, I took it in literal sense of, am I ready to write a couple 100 words? And I was like, yeah, you know, I can totally do this. But only about 2 pages into my chapter, I realized what her question actually meant, because it took a lot of reflection, and it actually triggered, you know, so much discomfort inside of me to find myself trapped in this dichotomy where in so many of the social roles that I occupy, I am guilty of conforming to patriarchy. And then in other societal roles that I take on, I am constantly challenging the system, and I am constantly speaking out, and I'm a voice of influence. And I found myself trapped between the 2 worlds and trying to position myself as a young, strong-willed woman who, I mean, you know, over the years, I've thought patriarchy cannot happen to me anymore. I have education, I have financial independence, I am bigger than it, I'm greater than it. But actually having that opportunity to reflect and to realize that, wait, it still very much speaks into my life, not only as a young African girl, due to the African culture and everything that comes with it, but also as a woman in corporate South Africa, as a young intellect, and all the roles that I occupy. So in many ways, it was difficult. I tried to express it as best as I can in my chapter to just navigate having to challenge it in one scenario and having to conform in another, and how I feel around it, you know. So it was an eye-opening experience. I'm eternally grateful. I always speak about how, you know, this opportunity with Women of Stature has completely transformed my life. But I am grateful to have the kind of women that are contributing towards this chapter that make me realize that our efforts and our triumphs are not in vain. And so that is my chapter in a nutshell. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Valencia. And yes, as she said, she's the Youth Ambassador for 2020, and myself and Valencia are looking at starting another project together quite soon. We're very excited about it, and just so wonderful that we have young women who aspire to be mentored by us oldies, because I think at the end of the day, the years of experience is also adding to our wisdom. So thank you so much for that. Right, our next lady is Martha Marie Kona. Martha Marie, it's your opportunity.
Hi ladies, Charlotte, thank you for the opportunity that I could share my journey in the book as well. My name is Martha Marie Kona. The title of my journey is When the World Said She Won't, They Whispered to the World She Can. Now my journey is all about hope, joy, determination, overcoming obstacles, setting no limits, and miracles. Now I'm sharing a journey since my childhood, where my parents is that I wouldn't survive. The prognosis was very big. My parents got a chance of 90% not surviving, and if I survived, I would end up in a home. 100% chance in a home for disabled. I won't be able to dress myself, feed myself, or even speak. But yeah, I'm blessed I'm here today. And during school years, I participated in sports. My whole goal was to excel in field events. Unfortunately, I got an ankle infection and I had to stop that sport. I decided to my matric year, but yeah, other doors opened for me sport-wise. And after school, when I went to college, I had a few obstacles there as well. But I pulled through and I succeed there. And work-wise, yeah, it was a bit challenging because I've got cerebral palsy as well. I'm very mildly disabled, so people didn't see me as too disabled. So I was in a wheelchair or on crutches, which made it difficult for me to get equity employment jobs. And when I applied for the normal jobs, I wasn't seen as able enough either. But yeah, I pulled through, and today, you know, I've got the motto, see each challenge and difficulty as opportunity, as it will give you the gap to grow and enable you to achieve your goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha Marie. So Martha Marie and I have known one another for many years. In fact, she was at the launch of Women of Stature in 2013, and she's been on this journey with me since then. And I must tell you that a better friend, more loyal friend, you could never wish to have, and someone that is such an inspiration. She just does never give up on anything, and she's recently started Abilities Without Limits, which she is obviously focusing on supporting people with difficulties such as cerebral palsy and others. And all I can say is that her journey is so inspirational. Thank you so much, Martha Marie. Right, our next lady is Kathy Mann. Kathy?
Thanks, Charlotte. So I'm Kathy, I'm an author. I've written 2 books so far on stress. I'm busy with my next one. I'm really passionate about stress and how we can use it as fuel to thrive in life. And the reason for that is that I experienced quite a significant burnout. My health collapsed about 5 years ago. And from the stressful environment, I got an autoimmune disease and chronic fatigue for a couple of years. So that adversity really pushed me towards a new life and a new career. And in sharing my story, I really hope to help others avoid that kind of health collapse. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell. The only thing I wanted to also add is that it does take great courage to write your story and release it into the world. I learned that when I released my first book. It is quite terrifying, actually, when everyone is about to read your life story. But it's really valuable. It offers great learnings to others. So thank you for the chance to collaborate with these wonderful, inspiring women.
Thank you so much, Kathy. And yes, I think anybody of us sitting under the lockdown scenario, I think a lot of us are actually experiencing stress, more stress than what we would under normal circumstances be experiencing. So thank you so much for coming on board at at the time when I think most people are being, as I say, cautious as to what they do. And then last but by no means least, and someone that I've obviously looked up to over the years since I've met her, we've also walked quite a journey together. I must just tell you that a lot of what I presented to you in the very beginning of today's presentation, the bit of reading that I had to do about the foundation, I can say thank you to Lynn Hill. Lynn has helped me with a lot of the writing of our foundation, of Women of Stature as an organization, because she has such an ability to put words in that I have to go and look up, first of all, to understand the meaning of them, but she articulates it so beautifully. So Lynn, over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, all. Thank you, Charlotte. I have valued the journey. I'm absolutely humbled. I was humbled when Charlotte asked me. I then said, oh, I need to go to the agent. Charlotte, between the two of us, I've never gone back to him because there were some things I realized you can actually make an autonomous decision. And this was one of it. And I prayed. And these things happen for a perfect reason. So I'm absolutely, absolutely inspired to just have heard the stories, to be in the company of greatness this afternoon. I am totally, totally humbled. When Charlotte introduced and she said the chapter name, I had to go to my phone because I could not remember writing a chapter name. Charlotte, I think I just put chapter contribution. And while you were talking in the beginning, I had to go to my phone, double check, and it was still chapter contribution. And it was, okay, so what's the name? What's the name? And the name is Hear Her Roar. And the following lines really encapsulates the entire chapter. And so it goes, she may have silently screamed when pain became a second name. She may have swallowed rivers of tears, pretending not to drown. She may even have contemplated death when she felt there was no reason to keep on keeping on. But now hear her roar as she shouts this to the world. While pain became my second name, it was my gateway to victory all the same. And the rivers of tears in which I thought I'd drown, it's now become a riverbed on which my mermaid treasures can now be found. And as for death, death died its bloody death when my divine purpose became my only breath. And so the chapter really is about how I have needed on so many counts in my life to reclaim my voice. And I start the chapter off by saying that I was silenced on 2 counts. I was silenced on the count of having been born into a patriarchal system, but I was also silenced on having been born into an apartheid ideology within that patriarchal system. I was then raped at the age of, very brutally, at the age of 15. Fell pregnant at 19, very, very hectic, was married to a narcissist as well. So I think we have something in common with the narcissist. But yes, married for 17 years and not 24. Fell pregnant at 19, gave birth to a 23-week-old baby. So I was only 20 when that happened. And to cut a long story short, there was just so much challenge. I did all of my studies full-time and part-time. Used to literally sit on the floor of a train because I could not afford first-class train. So it was on third-class train floor that I did assignments and did what I needed to do. The long and short of it, though, is that I didn't survive 1 rape. I survived 2. And thank you, Charlotte. This was really the first time I wrote about the second one. And it was definitely a moment, it was an historical moment, because while I was writing, I had to say, was it for a moment such as this? Is it because more lives will be inspired and more lives will be touched? If a woman can go through more than 1 rape, is this the solidity of the human spirit? And my story really is not about my resilience. My story becomes symbolic of the resilience of all who have so not told their stories, either because they didn't live through the rapes or they died of pain, literally on the inside and metaphorically. So I thank you for giving me the opportunity to be a conduit to, for the first time, publicly share my story. I am an author, US published author of an Amazon bestseller called Butterfly, My Soul Got Wings. But I was going through PTSD, very, very hectic, while I needed to finish that off. And I think the other essence of my chapter is that I don't think I wrote about the political situation as much as I actually inputted in this chapter. So I'm absolutely blessed, absolutely grateful. And yes, it's not about me. I am, because you are. So bless you and thank you. I'm so, so humbled.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you so much. And we so look forward to reading the fact that you are now expressing it for the first time. Shirley Zinn, I would like to introduce you to Professor Shirley Zinn, who has written the foreword of the book. And Shirley is also the patron of the Women of Stature Foundation. And she accepted my call last year when I was phoning out of my car, having seen Mr. Michael. She knows who I'm talking about. And he had said to me when he read the profile or the proposal of the Women of Stature Foundation, he says, there's two things that are missing here. He says you need a patron, but you need someone who is going to be of tremendous influence and value to your foundation. So I said, well, who would you suggest, sir? And he said, Professor Shirley Zinn. And I said, really? I said, it's quite ironic because I actually know her quite well. And he says, do you? I said, yes, I've known her for a few years already. And so I'd no sooner left his office and I stopped it. I was in my car and I just picked up my phone and I made the call. And Shirley answered, and well, the rest is history. So Shirley, over to you.
Thank you so much, Charlotte, for that introduction. I have to smile every time I hear you tell that story because it's just amazing how connected we all are, even when we don't realize, that somebody's out there looking out for you. Today, I'm just truly humbled to have listened to all of the authors of the chapters, and I'm very honored, Charlotte, to be the patron at a time when we really need this upliftment, and that we could have this amazing group of women who stepped up at a time like this to share these compelling stories of their lives. And to each one of you, I have to salute you. We all have a story. We often are not able to share it in the way that we have, but having written my own personal and professional journey as well, and understanding the challenges and the pain and the complexities that come with writing your story and sharing it, I can tell you that this book is going to change the lives of many and have a huge impact on many people's lives, because our stories are so powerful. And I know that, the great Madiba said it's impossible, or it seems impossible until it's done. And this is what I had to keep reminding myself as well. If it wasn't also for my husband, Kevin, I probably would never have finished that book, because I hit a wall so many times. And so I understand that you probably went through a similar process, all that inner work that you have to do. And so all I can say is we've overcome huge adversity. Every day we still face many challenges. We are an inspiration to many, and as I tried to say in the foreword, and it wasn't so easy to try and put it all together in just a few kind of, not even, I think it's 2 pages, right, like Charlotte. It's kind of saying this is an absolutely compelling read. It is a call to action for men and women who are trying to build a better world for all. I believe that in this COVID environment, we need to emerge as better human beings. And I believe that every chapter captures the essence and the spirit of valiant, pioneering women who have overcome many adversities of a brutal society that has silenced their voices, and that this book has enabled us to not only have our voices heard, but to share of ourselves with others. And so today I just want to say, it's a great celebration, Charlotte. It's a point in time in our lives and in our journeys, wherever we are in the world right now with this global pandemic, that says here is something that can truly inspire and keep our souls ignited despite the challenges that we face. And so today I just want to thank you all for being courageous, for being brave, for putting yourselves out there, and for the love and the care and the resilience that you have shown. And I just want to encourage you to continue with the journeys that you have started, as you put it out there in your chapters. I just want to encourage you to continue to do that, and hopefully together we can shift the world for the better through this contribution. Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness, thank you. Yes, it deserves a round of applause. Wonderful, Shirley. Thank you so much. And we so appreciate you being with us. And it's so wonderful that we can connect. Doesn't matter where in the world we are. So I'm really, really so grateful to every one of you. Well, I must just tell you that none of this could have happened without the help of a whole team of people that were sitting behind the scenes. And I would now like to introduce you to, hopefully we've got both of them online, but I do know we definitely have Yamkela. Yamkela, are you still online with us, love?
I'm still here.
Okay, great. So there we go, Yamkela. Yamkela is one of our editors, and she was introduced to me by the lovely Lonku. And Yamkela has been an absolute star together with Nicole. Nicole is hopefully coming online now, but she was stuck in traffic in Cape Town. She's also in Cape Town. Yamkela, would you like to just introduce yourself and tell the ladies why you were so, eager to get involved? What did you see the opportunity as?
Hi everyone. So it is such an honor for me to actually meet everyone and put and see the faces that I've been of the stories that I've been editing. So I'm really, really honored, and I'm so inspired and encouraged by all your stories. So thank you so much for contributing your stories. So like Charlotte has already said, I was introduced to this project by Uma Munongu. So I can't call her by name. I have to say Uma Munongu. So she introduced me to Charlotte, and that was after she had asked me to pen her story for this project. So I started as someone who was helping her pen her story, and then she happened to let Charlotte know that I also am in the publishing field. So I'm a publisher by profession. So Charlotte then drew me into the project to help edit this book, and it has been an absolute honor for me to be part of it. I love stories. I love reading people's stories. I get encouraged, but you know, when you at the forefront of reading these stories, you count yourself blessed that you were one of the few people who had to be in touch with these stories and actually have your life change. So, and I'm not saying this because all you guys are here, but I'm really, really changed by your stories. It was such an incredible honor. And thank you to you, Charlotte, for putting together this project and in such an selfless manner where you're not putting yourself at the forefront of it, but actually putting women who need this help. So I know I say this to you all the time when we are having meetings, but I am, thank you so much on behalf of every woman who's going to be helped by this project. And to you, Mam Nonku, thank you so much for bringing me into this project through Charlotte. I really, really appreciate it. I will stop there.
Oh my goodness, there's just so much more that one could really say and share. But before we close off completely, you obviously would like to know, okay, well, now what's next? So what's next, ladies? I'm just going to say that what's next is obviously the book is now in the capable hands of Marlies. Marlies was online with us earlier, but obviously she's had to pop off because she's also a busy lady. Marlies is doing the typesetting and she's busy with that as we speak. She is also been involved with me with the actual design of the cover. I obviously looked up a few little ideas and then I asked Yamkela and Nicole for their input, and together we came up with this beautiful cover, and I'm glad to hear that everybody thinks it's so beautiful and that it is representing women in their glory. And I think the fact that you know, we've had a good response to that. Hopefully we're going to have as good a response when it goes on to Amazon. I've also this morning, having spoken to Nonku wanted to know from me, are we going to also put it on Take-A-Lot? So I didn't even know that one could put books on Take-A-Lot. So I do believe that one from Nonku, one can. So that's quite possible now that we're going to put it on Take-A-Lot as well. So we were grappling with obviously the pricing of this book, also me not really knowing what is the current pricing of a book of this nature, and we together formed an opinion that around about 190 Rand is a fair price for a book of this quality, of this nature. It's very much like a biography. The biographies of these women. So the price for 190 will be valid, sorry, I meant to say 220, but for the month of August, we're selling it at a special Women's Month price of 190. So the 220 was the price that we came to, and then we've given the discount, as I say, for the month of August. We have all good intentions, ladies, to have the book online, hopefully by the 4th of July, which is next Friday. But just to be sure that we don't run ahead of ourselves, we're advertising it as being available from the 1st of August. But there's a good possibility, if Marlies gets it all done, that it could be online already next Friday. We've also created some hashtags, ladies, so whenever you're doing any form of posting, please use those hashtags for us, especially the first one and the second one. Obviously, the third one we just has been thrown in there by my brand developer, who is Shireen. She always knows what to add to the mix of things. So that is what the pricing is going to be, ladies. As it stands now, it will be an e-book, but we have considered having it in print as well, as long as we see that it's being well received. Then we also want to say to anybody that's online with us tonight or today, this afternoon, and would like to share their story, this is not going to be the last. We have so many ladies that actually were going to contribute but just ran themselves out of time, and but their stories are already written. So if you do want to, you're welcome to contact me, and let's look at it, and maybe you can be in our next edition. Then last but by no means least, why is it that this has happened? Is because we are a collective business community for women of stature network. We obviously would like you to become part of officially become part of our network as one of our members, because obviously we're seeing what actually can happen when you have a collective of women together. So if you want to be part of a circle of influencers, you truly cares and you'd like to be part of the network, then you can most certainly do that, and it's quite simple. We have our website, we have our all our information is on the website. The membership applications are on the website. If you want to become part of the foundation, you could also possibly just want to be part of the foundation. There's many ways in which you can be involved. Shireen Hunter, in fact, who's online with us, has recently, as the 1st of July, been appointed the Managing Director of Was Network, which means that we are now have a fresh and energetic woman at the helm of Was Network. And as recent as last week, we have formed a partnership with the Johannesburg Chamber of Commerce and Industry, ladies, and by glory is this going to take us into the global sphere. They have got a wonderful program already, a Women in Business program. They want to be associated with Women of Stature. They are opening up the channels of trade for women out of South Africa, taking products into Europe. And that is something I think that most of us would find great difficulty in doing on our own, but through the Johannesburg Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and as a Woman of Stature member, they're going to make it that much easier for us. They also have funding. They are able to help groups of women to go overseas, to be able to go and represent South Africa, represent their products, and all paid for. They've got close ties, obviously, with the Department of Trade and Industry. So, ladies, there's a lot to take into consideration and a lot of wonderful opportunities available through Women of Stature, through the WAS Network, through our academy, and obviously our foundation, where we hopefully are able to support these women. So without further ado and without keeping you much longer, I just wanted to end off with this quote from Oprah Winfrey. I know that you all know who Oprah is, but I just think this, for me, says it all. Surround yourself only with people who are taking you higher. And I think that's certainly my intent. I've always been intentional with that. These women that you have met today, many of them I've known for quite a few years. I've looked them up. I've connected with them with the intention to grow myself. So I guess I was a little bit selfish there, but I really wanted to grow. And you know, I believe it doesn't matter how old you are, you will never stop growing. You'll never stop learning. You'll never stop developing. My mother-in-law is turning 100 years old, Lynn, on the 4th of September. My mother-in-law is 100 years old. Oh my goodness. She came to visit us on Sunday and said that she wanted to bring us a little hamper. So she bought every one of her children a little hamper with Stay Soft, washing powder, a dishwashing liquid, and all of that, because she felt that everybody is under so much strain now with lockdown and with all of this stuff going on. So she wanted to make a contribution into our lives. So if I can at 100 still be driving around visiting my children, well, I don't think there's anything left to be said. Well, on that note, ladies, and I think I'd like to take a photo of all of us that are still on the online with us. I want to go into gallery view. If you can all put your videos on. See, we still have quite a number of ladies that are still here with us. Is everybody able to put on the video? Then I can take a nice photograph. And there's Carol, Nonkuleko, Keelan, Chantal Effen, there's a Rolf Faria. There's still a few that are blank. Carol, can you hear me? Nonku, can you hear me? There we go. Keelan? Keelan?
Can you see me
Keelan,
now?
or is it Kim? Gaza, Yolandi?
Charlotte, can you hear me? It's Kim.
Oh, is it Kim? Can we see you?
I was busy doing work and I minimized it, so I've only got you on the screen while I was listening and at the same time, so I don't know how to get the video back on, and my son's not here at the moment. So this dinosaurs, I've got you on the screen.
Same with me, it's Carol. I also was working, so I don't know how to get my picture back on.
All right. Okay, well, ladies, all I wanted to say is thank you again so much. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for sharing this incredible afternoon of celebration. We're going to do this in the real way as well, okay? As soon as everything is backing up. Hello, Ilona. Hello, all the way there from Pretoria as well. Just want to say that we're going to definitely be doing this again. We're going to have the proper launch at some point in time when we can all be back together in one room without having to worry about masks and all sorts of strange things. But until such time, I just want to say goodbye, God bless, thank you so much, and have an absolutely amazing weekend. And I see that it's warming up, so hopefully not as cold as what it's been. But to every one of you that have tuned in today, all our ladies that were here as our contributors, just want to say thank you so much. God bless, and congratulations to each and every one of you for the amazing work that you are doing. And I see here from Venencia, congratulations to each and every one. So everybody has now, well, you've met most of the ladies. There's a couple that couldn't be with us today, but we bless them in their absence. And bye-bye to you all.
Yes, bye. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Carol, hello.
Carol.
Okay, thank you.
Carol is nog hier so. Carol is op 'n foonoproep, lyk my.
Lyk my so.
Ek weet nie wie die Chantal effens nie, en sy kom nie op nie. Maar sy's nog hier. Chantal? Hier is Chantal. Ek weet nie wie is die Chantal nie, maar sy's nog hier. Wat ek hier so? Nee, wat ek? Wat is dit iets?
Ek dink amper jy kan hulle afhaal.
Okay, ja, ek het nou. Ek het hulle afhaal. Dat ek het hierdie Carol ook.
Daar sy.
Daar is hy. Okay, dan sit net ek en jy, né? Waar is hy? Waar is hy? Moenie vir my sê jy's weg nie. Nee, hier is hy. Waar is hy? Hier fullscreen. Waar is jy? Jolandi? O, sy is skielik weg. Is Jolandi, is jy terug? Is jy terug?
Ek is terug, daar hoor jy my ook.
O, genade tog. So, hoe gaan dit met jou?
Dit gaan goed, dankie.
Ek moet net my recording stop, né?